Well, here we are. Let's get our readers caught up with how we ended up exactly in this moment today. What happened?
The readers do need to know this. My voice is killing me. I can't stand how it sounds, but we'll power through. Okay, so I woke up this morning in Minneapolis, drove here to pick up Norah, who we know and love, drove to New Ulm to take care of some business. Am I supposed to be going into specifics?
You're doing it.
Okay. And now I'm here, and I've interacted with so many people that I love and miss from when I was at school here. So I love that I got to see a lot of them, including you even.
Even me. This is going to be a blast.
I'm excited. This is going to be good.
So you're a listener? You're a reader?
I'm a reader.
You're a
of this
feast
podcast.
reader?
I not only am reading, I'm whistling right along with you, you know? Yes. And I know so many of the people involved in the production. Again, even you.
Yeah, even me. Do you have a way of talking about why it's called Whistle the Feast?
A way of talking about why it's called Whistle the Feast.
Because we haven't really done that yet, and you weren't involved in naming it, but I'd be very interested in what Anna Tausz says it's about.
It feels to me very like you in terms of taking something very spectacular like a feast, which is I'm a feast of the visual arts, a feast of especially like a Christian perspective on that, and making it more lighthearted and cheerful, like whistling a tune. So not sitting with like how heavy those topics can be, but like let's make it light and fun, like you.
Like cotton candy.
Like cotton candy.
I'm cotton candy.
Totally.
Yeah, there's a podcast I listen to called Why Are We Talking About Rabbits? And the subtitle is Heavy Things Lightly. Interesting.
Did I kind of like hit the nail on the head?
You kind of did it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That feels very accurate to the intention.
Perfect.
I like not talking about it. I like not revealing it because it kind of, it can sort of grow as a legend.
Which feels like when I first met you, how you were talking to me about one of your art pieces, the one where Jesus is holding up the person who's drowning to save them.
That's still in progress.
Still in progress. And I saw some version of that. And you said that you like your artwork to reveal itself slowly, like to reward the viewer for staying longer. So... yeah.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. You're stuck here.
Yeah. So you woke up in Minneapolis, you went to New Ulm, you came to Bethany, you had a nostalgia hit.
Nostalgia, yeah.
And then I trapped you, and now you're at a microphone.
Yeah.
We could go a lot of directions here. I think what I would like to hear from you, I don't want to take too much time because you got to get on the road to Chicago.
True.
What I would like to hear from you is why Bethany in the first place for you. Time travel back to making that decision.
Yeah.
And you just kind of talked about some of our first conversations. And then maybe let's go the other direction if we have time and talk about who you want to become.
Yes. So how did I find Bethany?
And why? Why was it important?
Yeah, let's just start there. I felt that it was important to go to study visual art in a place where I felt like that was the important thing, not kind of like there's an art building on the campus of this college. And yeah, there are like some art majors. And I don't know if I felt that on my visit here or if I just felt that art was very important in the YFAC in a way that in a lot of other colleges I had toured, it was almost like this is the place where, yeah, I guess the studio art majors are there. So I don't know if that makes sense, but basically
Decode YFAC for our readers.
YFAC is the Ylvisaker Fine Arts Center. It's where the visual arts and music and all of the arts things sort of happen on campus here.
So would you say it felt different? Had you looked at other places? You've been part of other other institutions.
I went to school for 2 years in Chicago at my community college, College of DuPage. It's a really good school, and they had fantastic art facilities there, and I was really lucky. I loved my time there. But when it came time to transfer to like get my bachelor's, at that time I felt really concerned about making the right choice. And I think looking back, I was stressed about nothing, because I think that wherever I would have gone would have ended up being the right choice in whatever way, like whatever path God had meant for me was going to be the one that was right. So at the time it felt very stressful to like, okay, you have to pick like the correct college. Like this is a huge decision. But yeah, Bethany stood out to me, I think, in the YFAC specifically. I just felt like, okay, this is my vibe in a way that I hadn't felt when I had toured other college art buildings, because that was always what I focused on, because I knew I would be spending the most time there wherever I went.
You felt it?
I did feel it. I can't remember too much from that original visit, but I remember thinking I could see myself there in a way that I did not at some other schools that I had toured.
Okay, I want to pick up on that, but maybe we should do introductions. Like we yeah, kind of
like who is
we
talking?
kind of jumped right into this. Who is this person who's talking to us? Feast readers probably see it in their show notes and the title, right? But let's just be proper here. And since you started talking, we've been joined by another guest. Yes. So I'm Jason Jaspersen. This is Whistle the Feast, and who are you? You've been talking. Who are you?
Who am I?
A name will do.
A name will do. I'm Anna Tausz. I went to Bethany and graduated last May in studio arts and arts administration, and now I teach middle school art in the Twin Cities.
All right. And who's the mysterious guest who just walked in?
Secret guest, Jenna Thompson. Fine
right up to the mic,
event
please.
Coordinator here at Bethany Lutheran College.
Yeah.
As of last August.
Jenna Thompson. Okay. And you're a feast reader.
I am a feast reader, faithful.
Okay.
Every episode.
Welcome to the room.
Thank you.
All right. So picking up where you left off, Anna, let's fill in the time that you were here, right?
Yes.
I think it's important for people to recognize that you transferred.
I transferred.
So you came in, you were really here for
3 semesters total is my time at Bethany, because I transferred in and then spent a semester in Italy, and then my senior year was a full year here at Bethany.
Spending a semester at Italy was kind of a semester with Bethany, or sort of under the umbrella of our degree.
Yeah.
But with a partner institution.
Mm-hmm. So I was out of the country at Santa Reparata International School of Art, but getting credit, obviously, for things that I needed back here to complete my degree. So studying abroad, yeah.
I'd like to ask you some hard questions, because I do that. Is there a way for you to like package what Bethany did for you? What happened to you?
Mm-hmm. What Bethany did for me was gave me a lot more go with the flow energy. And I think a lot of that had to do with your influence specifically, but also the idea of I can actually do whatever I want. It's more so a matter of just deciding what that is. Whereas prior to coming to Bethany, I think I felt, again, that stress of picking the right school. I felt the stress of picking the right major and deciding, what am I going to do with my life? Like, let's get this planned out. And there is a stress to my life. And I know that some of my friends here at Bethany sensed a major difference in me from when I first arrived here at Bethany to definitely when I left, and especially after my time in Italy.
What's the difference?
The difference is that I'm just a lot less stressed out all the time and a lot less anxious about every little thing. I'm less anxious about the artwork that I create. I'm less anxious about my future falling into place. I'm a lot more grateful for the moment that I'm in instead of looking forward constantly to the future and like the next right decision that I need to make. Whereas just that perspective of wherever you would be a really beautiful, special place to be. And so don't be so concerned constantly about laying down like this path in front of you that you feel that you need to stick to be successful.
That was expert synthesis right there. You just did it, right? You just compressed 3 semesters, actually 4, into a really eloquent delivery.
Thank you.
In the same way that you did that with your capstone. So could you talk about, let's say, the thesis concept of your capstone and then also the execution of it?
I haven't spoken about it in a really long time. And this is a tangent that no one asked for, but I was thinking about my identity related to what I do, not my identity in Christ, obviously, but my identity related to like being Miss Tausz as a teacher or being a student as my identity or whatever else I decide to do as my identity. And I think that I've lost a lot of my identity as an artist ever since my capstone, and like now being a teacher, it feels like a daily grind. So sorry about that tangent, but I'm very excited to get to talk about art again and feel back in that space of being an artist instead of a teacher. Not that being a teacher is bad, but it's different. My capstone thesis was essentially that idea of places being very inherent to who you are, or at least how I specifically felt that the places that I had been in the last roughly 2 years of my time in college, how those shaped me and really influence my future. I feel rusty on this topic, but basically my capstone was 5 reduction linoleum prints based on places over the last 2 years of my time in college that really showed what I think I've been talking about like over and over already. The idea that you can go anywhere and make it this beautiful thing, and you're not ever really leaving it behind. You're kind of taking it with you. And like the hope for the future then is looking back on your past as if you're looking back on like linoleum prints of your past, can remind you that there are so many more of those wonderful places in your future, and sort of the idea of using that to combat fear, because that is something that I'm just constantly, what am I going to do next? I'm afraid. Like, what am I doing here? I'm afraid. All of that fear and anxiety, I was just kind of sick of it. And so reminding myself that everywhere I've gone, Italy and here in Mankato and now in Minneapolis, and
Chicago.
And Chicago, yeah, back home. It's wonderful. It's all wonderful. And that moment of fear before you take that jump into something new, that's when I really, it's nice to have that reminder and look back on, my own capstone, which just reminded me of that. And I hope was able to kind of give the viewer of my capstone that idea too, and maybe think about all of the blessings they've had in terms of places they've been in and spaces that are special to them, and take that as hope for their future as well.
So in working with you on developing that capstone, I remember a lot of, let's say some of the first talks that we had about it, they were unclear, but you had this kernel of an idea. There's something there, but you didn't quite have the language, the vocabulary for it to describe it. Italy was a turning point for you. There were a lot of realizations regarding that anxiety, that fear. But the big turning point was you realizing or redeeming those experiences, realizing that when you looked back, you saw there was another blessing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that you let go of gets replaced by another great thing.
Mm-hmm.
We talk on this podcast sometimes about how influence is wild and you don't really know how what you do affects other people.
Right.
Your capstone has become a shorthand for the way that I talk to students.
Oh my gosh.
Anybody who saw it, experienced it, it's become a shorthand to help people understand that there's this perennial problem with college students. They experience this beautiful community and then have to go. Mm-hmm. And you have a major contribution to the thinking around here when you provided that assurance over the course of a whole year of wrestling with it. You come out with this assurance, this certainty that God provides, and He always has, and He always will.
Mm-hmm. That's so wonderful. I did not know. I did not know it was shorthand. That's special.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to just highlight that was a wrestling match, mm-hmm. conceptually. Mm-hmm. Really hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I'll point out, too, that you were another victory in that capstone was the connection between the stories you were telling, the places that you represented, and the way that reduction linoleum prints work. Mm-hmm. It's a medium that eats itself, mm-hmm. and so you can't go back mm-hmm. to an earlier state of that linoleum block. Mm-hmm. It's constantly disintegrating to make more colors. That's, it's just too right for the topic.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment of realization, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Anytime I think about my capstone or now talking about it, it was completely almost something that came from outside of me, and I would say from God, just like a gift to me. Like the idea of like picking a capstone is something that's horrifying for someone like me who's so afraid of making the wrong move constantly. Like, okay, like this is a huge deal. Let's definitely stress out about it. Like disproportionately, like a whole year, a whole body of work, it has to be perfect. And the way that I felt like such peace and at the same time, you're right, like wrestling constantly, like it was a huge challenge, but I was so relieved that it wasn't too easy. I did not want to have a capstone that was like, okay, here's like some stuff, I don't know. For me, I definitely needed it to be something that really pushed me to my limit, which how many times was I sobbing in your office? Like it was crazy. It was very, very difficult, but having that light bulb moment of the process is literally what I'm talking about. The idea that you have this new start, this new piece of linoleum, and the thing that's beautiful about it is how it's literally disappearing in front of your eyes. And you have to, again, those moments of panic in creating it. Do I have enough prints of this layer? Am I somehow like, can I go ahead and make that cut into the linoleum? Or do I have to freeze in like fear of like, did I do everything right? Can I take the next step? It challenged me not only like conceptually over the year, but like every single decision that I made the entire time, because it is disappearing and you can't start it over per se. You could, but you're stuck with that linoleum and with the choices that you make every second, and with the pressure of the press, you're stuck, and with the colors that you rolled on, you're stuck. And so you continually can only move forward. You can't linger or go back. And that is the beautiful thing about it. Like that is what's beautiful, is that it's so special. It's a limited edition. You can't just make unlimited amounts of them. So it existed, and now in a lot of ways it's gone. I don't have that anymore. And like that year of wrestling.
Is it safe to say that as you transformed the material,
transformed me.
You were transformed by it?
Yes, yeah. Totally. 1,000%. like completely an Italy-like transformation, you could say. Like a completely new person came out the other end of that capstone, then went in, completely transformed me and what I thought that it meant to be an artist. And if I could, in fact, consider myself an artist, like those were questions that were being wrestled with the whole time as well, on top of just the daily, like conceptual and, you know, process decisions, just this constant like torment of, is this what I want to do? Is this, am I doing the right thing? Just constantly questioning that.
I want to bring Jenna in. And I think the topic to consider, maybe the tie-in I want you to think about is that progression of arenas that somebody finds themselves in, different places to live, different friends, different vocations. So you've joined the YFAC, the Yilva Soccer Fine Arts Center, closing in on 1 year of you know, kind of being inside of that. But that's just the most recent. So maybe without getting into specifics, how about the phenomenon of moving through different realms throughout life? You heard what Anna was saying about, I think just very wise, talking about how that experience is maybe better than it feels. What do you see?
Well, it's interesting to listen to Anna talk because I literally kind of was on the periphery of one of those phases of her life. So the most recent place we moved from was the Chicago area. And so I met Anna, I think, for the first time when I came to your graduation party in Chicago for her senior year, which was a display of her, a gallery of her art. And Anna's mom and I had become good friends over the course of that year. And I think we had only been there a year, maybe a year and a half, when I got to know your mom, Amy. And so getting to know Anna's family and now listening to this development of Anna's character, I was kind of on the periphery of a lot of that through her mom's eyes. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question, actually, but that's what I was thinking about as she was talking, is just we have absolutely no idea the different connections we're going to make in our lives and all the different places the Lord takes us. And so this metaphor that you just developed for us so beautifully of how that capstone project changed you in the same way that being in Italy changed you, in the same way that now being in Minneapolis teaching is changing you. That's a hard thing to articulate as beautifully as you have, but I think your art is helping you to do that, you know, that medium. And I'm really fascinated by the description you just did of the, what did you call the technique?
Reduction. Linoleum, yeah.
And I think I'm just learning so much through my time here, having conversations with Jason, having conversations with students about how it's never as simple as it might appear on a canvas, you know, if that makes sense. But I don't think I answered your question.
I just wanted you in the conversation. I'm really glad you're here.
Generous of you. Very generous of you.
I think you should be here all the time. Well, Anna, let's be sympathetic to the people listening and give a little bit of background on the technique that we're describing. So I'll lead it off. I'll talk about the final product, right? What somebody sees on the wall,
right?
And then you talk about how it gets to that point.
Okay.
So what you see on the wall, what we saw on the wall for Anna's capstone was a series of prints, relief prints that are produced in kind of blocky colors of interior views of certain rooms. They've got simplified color schemes, simplified shapes, but they're obviously from specific references, specific places. Now, and I would say they were like 12 by 18 inches.
12 by 18, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us how those, what's significant, and how is it made?
Yeah. So the process was one that I was able to practice and learn about for the first time in Italy, this idea of the reduction linoleum print. I had only ever done a very straightforward, non-reductive, you take a sharp tool, you carve into linoleum, like linoleum that you would have on the floor. It's a softer area to carve from than something like wood, for example. And so a lot of artists have used that instead of wood because it's easier. So you carve, you roll ink onto that plate that you've carved, and you put paper on it, and you run it through the press.
I think the shorthand that people can think of is like a stamp.
Totally, yeah.
The high points print.
Right.
The places you carve away.
Yeah, so you're making the places you carve away lower so that when you roll the ink on, the ink doesn't reach them, and so they stay white or whatever color your paper is. So I'm on a tangent.
Well, so that's an overview of how relief printing works or linoleum printing works. But what's different about this?
What's different about this is that you have one plate of linoleum. You could choose to do many plates that would work together to create an image. But with reduction, you are using one plate, and that is the only surface you have for however many layers on the print you would like to end up with. You have this one piece of linoleum. So you have to kind of calculate carefully what your color palette will be, how many layers you want to have, basically how many times are you going to be running this through the press to get different colors and different shapes to create one image from that one plate. So as you're working in your layers, you are removing the surface area that you have available to you to add onto the print.
So let's say we'll just walk through this. You've calculated your colors. You figured out how many colors, what the colors are going to be, what space they take up, and then you carve and then you ink up and run a series of prints.
Yes.
With that color. Mm-hmm. How many were your series? How large were your series?
Completely different and based on nothing each time. And so
6, 12, 10.
Yeah, anywhere from 5 to 16.
Okay. So let's just say 10, right?
Yeah.
10 pages go through the press.
Right.
And with a specific color.
And a specific image that you've carved, yeah.
Yeah. And then you clean the plate and carve again in the same plate. And then ink a new color, run those 10 pages through the press again with the new color over the top of the previous color.
Yes.
And then carve again.
Yeah. And you continue until, it is kind of endless. You could do it almost endlessly to the point where you just have none of the plate left.
We have one of your plates on the wall.
Yeah, and it's destroyed.
There's just nothing left.
There's nothing left. It's shreds.
Just a little dangling piece of garbage.
So really the exciting and very scary part is after you've done you've put your 10 pages through with that first design and you're about to change the plate, because at that point there's no going back. With the first one, you could technically keep changing it because it's the first layer, but with the second one, you locked in that first layer. There are only 10 of these that will ever exist in the world, which I'm so glad that I chose to do this because it was hard, but it's so counter to anything that I was willing to do in terms of being scared. So
courage is built in.
Yeah, literally you have to be so brave. And every day I was like, I can't do this. It's so stressful. And you would not, for the first couple months, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, maybe. I just avoided the studio like it was the plague. I produced literally nothing for such a long time.
I do remember.
Yeah, and I'm sure Andy remembers how we would meet and I had nothing to really show, and I would sort of talk about, it's going to and for the longest time, I just could not commit. So
can't tell me the time frame of that. So at what point in the year, was this part of just your senior year?
It was just my senior year. And so I would say that I finally had finished 1.5 prints by the time we were on at Christmas break. It was
50%
ridiculous.
Of the time is over.
50% of my time was over, and I had produced 1.5 of my images, which it started out, I was going to do 7. And at the end of my capstone, I had 5. So, every day was kind of I actually could probably just do 6. And then I was like, well, let's actually aim for 5. And I produced a print, my most favorite and successful, in my opinion, was the one of my Florence apartment. And that was the first one I did. And that one was the one that was so clear in my head and like the basis for the entire rest of the project. And so that felt like a major victory, but I definitely only produced like 1. And then I think I had like 1 layer of my second done. And then I went home for Christmas and I was like, wow, like my spring semester is going to be nightmarish. I have so much to do. But I just was avoiding the studio because it was really scary to go into the studio. Mm-hmm. Like I could not get in there and do anything. And the irony and what I think so beautifully ended my capstone was a print of the studio space in the YFAC that I was working in. And I realized, it seems so obvious now, but I realized it only like really late in the process. I realized that all of the places that I was showing were places that I had been genuinely like shaking in my boots to experience. And now they are some of my most favorite places and they're in my prints. Terrified to go to Italy. Terrified. One of them is my sister's apartment in Manhattan. And I chose that because it was the first time I'd ever flown alone. I flew to see her in Manhattan, and it just seemed really scary at the time to do that. And now I look at that and I'm like, wow, like what a baby. But that was like one that was really big for me because I was like, wait, I actually can fly anywhere in the world that I want to because I just did this. And then Italy is obviously there. I was scared to go. Mankato, my apartment in Mankato, I was scared to come to Bethany and also Mankato, which is very different from anything I ever grew up with in Chicago. Now one of my favorite places, which is crazy. And then, yeah, I don't know. It was very fitting that somewhere I was so literally like I felt sick to my stomach to go to the studio and produce nothing and feel very inadequate and unsuccessful. I ended the series with a print of my studio. So that was like a very full circle moment.
I think I heard 4 listed. What was the 5th?
Oh, yes. The 4th was the Carnegie Art Center, where I was an intern. That's here in Mankato as well. And I think less so than being afraid of like the internship in and of itself, I was afraid to dip my toe into the world of like arts administration and feel valid in it and not feel imposter syndrome to an insane degree. And Charlie at the Carnegie, the director there, was so amazing. And again, helping me. This was like something that was scary for me. And I was like, oh, like I actually can. All of these places just proved to me again and again, I actually can do that though. So like, what are you afraid of? And now it's one of your favorite places. And if you had been scared to walk through the door, you never would have had this amazing print and this amazing experience and these amazing friends because of it. So, yeah.
All right, let's flip.
Okay.
Who are you becoming?
So I was really thinking about this the other day for like the weirdest reason. The kids are obsessed with, my students are obsessed with trying to find all of us, like their teachers and me, therefore, on social media. Oh. And so one of them had stumbled across my art account, which is not private. It's a public account, and it just has some of my like artwork on it. And I remember him saying, and it was not at all something that like hurt my feelings. It just really made me think. He was like, wait, Miss Tausz, like you're really good. Like you're really good at art. Like these things are really cool. And I was like, I just probably said something like, oh yeah, like whatever. Thank you. Like weird that you're on my social media, whatever. But then I was like, wait, like my students know me as Miss Tausz, and people who know me in that space in the school know me as, you know, she's the art teacher, and they don't know me really at all unless they're people that I've become closer with there as an artist. And then I was like taking a further step back and I was like, wait, do I even know myself as an artist? Like, is that how I consider myself? And like, could I even consider myself that as someone who I do not create enough work now in my own artistic practice to really consider myself an artist. I am now spending so much of my time just, okay, well, let me make sure I enter the grades for quarter 3. And also I have like these random meetings to go to. And also when I get home, I'm so tired that I just am too lazy, quite frankly, to even pick up my sketchbook. So can I call myself an artist? And at the same time, like, I might be called a teacher. I don't have any basis of understanding of myself as a teacher. I don't know if I'm a good teacher or a bad teacher, or if I'm just kind of there in the room and I'm in charge of watching these kids for 45 minutes, and that's what being a teacher. So I don't know what I am, and I don't know how I feel. And I think it's kind of, I'm phrasing it in a lighthearted way as like, oh yeah, like that's so like crazy. I like taught art for a year in an effort to like make it lighthearted to myself, that I have no idea what I'm doing or like what I want to be considered. What do I want to be known as?
Currently shaking in your boots?
Literally shaking in my boots. And also literally shaking in my boots because I am so, or was so scared of, you know, the 7th graders. Like, they were scary. And I'm standing in front of them shaking in my boots.
They're listening right now.
They're listening? Right. They will find this.
Yes.
They will find this.
Hello out there.
Yeah. And I actually have a question for you, Jason, as I've been thinking about this. Do you think being a teacher, of course it influences your own artwork, but do you think you inherently feel more creative being in a place where you're teaching sort of that discipline of creativity, or do you feel that you would actually be far more productive if you didn't kind of have teaching?
Well, this has been a wrestling match in my head for my whole career. I think what you're getting at is the stories that you tell yourself. Who do you think you are, and what, you know, what's your primary role? I went to school to be an artist, you know, and that was sort of a declaration to myself and to everyone else that this is it. This is what I am. And then, you know, became a teacher. And for a long time that felt like, at first it felt like a detour. I'll do this for a year, maybe 2, and then like, well, maybe 5, you know, and now it's year 10. And then, well, I spent 17 at MVL, and now I'm 24 years into it. And so the story that I tell myself is emerging and changing. I'm realizing that I had gifts that I didn't really give myself credit for. Gifts that cause you to cry in my office, and gifts that guide you toward that successful capstone. It's a very subtle thing to allow you to do almost nothing and have full confidence in you at the same time. Yeah. Because I think I see somebody's potential, and, you know, maybe before they do. I am definitely affected by my students. It's a conversation. It's a two-way conversation. So you're asking, you know, does teaching affect my creative output? If the definition of it is, say, the environment, yes. If the definition is like the content that I deliver, I'm not sure. But more and more, the way I think about teaching is about setting up circumstances. So I'm learning that I'm good at making culture. I'm good at sort of establishing a zone, and then like letting it letting it run, let it go, course correct as needed, but really, just provide a transformative space, time and space.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I deliver much, but I facilitate real transformation like you described. And that does become reciprocal. And let's say the fact that you're sitting in this room talking with me, I take as a trophy. That because of that kind of environment, we can have an enduring relationship that's beyond the quarter 3 grades. I taught high schoolers for many years, some of which I was afraid of. It's because the whole environment can be very competitive. It can be very sort of Lord of the Flies or wolf pack kind of thinking that leaks into the relationships with teachers. And I have enduring relationships with high school students. I also have many that I've just never heard from or whatever. It's not an overall kind of blanket answer. I think I did it.
You did it. Success. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know.
I feel like hearing from Jenna.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
No, I'm just thinking about vocation as you're talking to. Vocation isn't often a linear thing, like where you just have this one thing that you're doing. It's mostly layered, and takes on different forms. So I'm wondering, I'm just listening for common themes here in what you're talking about. And so much of what you've said today has been you talking about doing it scared, doing things that you're afraid of, and then finding out, oh, look at that. That was really formative and that was really beneficial. And so I think as you think about what you're becoming and trying to determine what those next steps can be, I think the field is open to you, because we're all becoming many, many things all at once, because that's just how God works. That's how the Holy Spirit works in our lives. And you've proven it already. You do it scared and you do it well. So don't be afraid.
So walking into the building, you mentioned you're going to Europe.
I'm going to Europe.
Tell us more.
So this has been something else that the job of teaching has given me, is the ability to pay off my student loans and also save up for a really big, long trip to Europe. I'll be gone for 2 months. I'm starting in Berlin and then Amsterdam and then France. And we will be in the south of France.
You said we.
Yes. So my friend Anna, the Annas are going to hit Europe. We're going to have an amazing time. We're going to do woofing, which is you go stay on a farm for free and you get fed and you just have to give a couple hours of work every day in return. And so it's a really cheap way of getting to see like a specific, like a small corner of maybe the country, but like on a much more personal level, like with someone who actually lives there, with a local, getting to like work on their farm, and there's time to like explore too. So it's going to be incredible. So I'm in charge of the location for France. We're doing it in France. I'm in charge of getting that taken care of. Definitely have not done that yet, but it's going to be great. And then I just found out that my sisters are going to be able to fly over and have a week with me in Paris as well. So we're going to obviously go to Geving and see Monet's garden and just do every other thing possible in Paris. And it's going to be great. We've never gotten to go to Europe together. So I'm very excited to do that with my sisters. And then me and Anna will continue to Spain. That's her job, is finding our woofing spot in Spain. And then we end in Portugal. So, yeah.
And then
I fly back into O'Hare Airport. And at that time, it will need to have been decided whether I'm teaching for another year and moving back to to Minneapolis or if I will stay with my parents and figure out something in Chicago. And that is a decision that I will have to make like so soon that it's terrifying. But again, it will be great whatever I decide. And I definitely need to just talk to my mom and dad, do a lot of praying and figure it out and see what's right, because I will miss the kids a lot. I will miss my students a lot. And the idea too that I'm doing something that is useful. And I know that there are so many different ways to feel useful, but I think especially as a teacher, I feel that I'm doing something that will last. And if I can, if the only paintings that my students ever see are paintings that they saw because of my class, that's already something right there. So yeah, we'll see. But that is what happens after you're up.
It sounds like the plan of a baby boomer. To me, it feels like something that people used to do. Backpack across Europe, find themselves, take this episode of life, carpe diem kind of move. I think it's delightfully old school.
Old school, yeah.
Woofing. That is a new concept.
Yeah, does that stand for something?
Yes, I'm going to probably get some of these words incorrect, but it's something along the lines of Worldwide Organization of Organic Farmers.
Huh.
So, yeah.
It's a brilliant connection. And I love that it's this non-touristy sort of pathway.
Right. Insufferably, I'm going to talk about Italy again. And I realized that because I was able to live there, I love it in a way that I never would have been able to if I was just visiting. And so that is now my idea of how to experience anywhere that I travel to. I feel like I would have to, even if it's 2 weeks on someone's farm, have an idea of what it's actually like to live in that place instead of just hit every more well-known like tourist spot or something in a bigger city, like see the country and get to know the people in some way.
Well, maybe something we didn't say about your capstone is the way that the content elevates the mundane.
Yeah.
Normal places.
Yeah. I remember talking about my project to my mom constantly and usually crying, but something that came up again and again is that she was referencing them as sort of postcards. And I remember there was like something about that was like, this was before my ideas were fully formed. And she said, okay, so places. So like you could almost think about them like postcards or souvenirs of that time. And I remember just like being annoyed at the idea of it being a postcard, because so often a postcard would be like, for example, a postcard from Paris is probably going to have something to do with like the Eiffel Tower or some very identifiable thing. And I remember being so like, okay, but it has to be like my postcard. So it has to be my Florence, my bedroom in Florence, and my perception of what it's like to go to Manhattan. It has to be where I was there. And so it definitely, I think, is more about the emotion of the place and the mundanity of it, as opposed to it being about New York or about Italy, and more so about like my specific little corner and experience of whatever the place was.
Yeah, as you were talking about it earlier, the word that kept coming to my mind is it's like an imprint of a memory. You know, like we all have memories that rattle around in our brains, but they're there in our minds, and you've given it a way to kind of imprint it in a physical way, kind of like a postcard. Yeah, I get what your mom's saying.
My mom is smart. She's really smart.
Your mom knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to get you on the road.
Okay.
You've got a long drive ahead of you.
I do, yeah.
So, planning our descent here. Anything we should talk about before we sign off?
I think we should talk about a little bit more about how you're doing, because I didn't get to ask you that yet, and I want to know. What's up with you? What is making you happy? Actually, what is your like little phrase right now? Because I was realizing that you go through these cycles of having like a little phrase that you'll say constantly, and today it's kind of seeming like it's carpe diem. Is that your thing right now?
Only since you arrived.
What's up though? What's like your vibe recently?
Well, we've been talking about the nature of Bethany around Bethany a lot, and there's a phrase that's starting to bubble up that it's a place like no other. Mm-hmm. Another phrase that bubbles up is have faith in your education. But those are sort of corporate answers. That's not really what you're mining for here.
He's been talking a lot about manna this year,
manna.
too. That's a phrase that gets inserted.
But you remember that, don't you?
I recall.
She's looking
I'm a this year
She's looking
person,
for fresh.
So that's not fresh, maybe.
I know I have it.
I know you do.
Yeah.
There's always a little... Honestly, there was a time when I thought that maybe something that I said or something that I read or something that you came up with during my capstone, Wonders Never Cease. Mm-hmm. That was definitely a thing for you for a little bit.
That's shorthand.
Shorthand, and you always have something like that.
Yeah.
Wonders Never Cease, or...
It's amazing to me how I can't, like, I know I have it and I can't quite just access it right now.
I'm glad you knew what I was talking about so I don't sound crazy. Like
no,
Jason's little sayings.
It's right. It's a method of operation. You're right. But it's like, it has to be unlocked by an appropriate circumstance. I don't just have it.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm trying to think about, honestly, I couldn't even really list it. There was one when I first got here that I remember being like, before I knew you, I was like, okay, so that's like his thing. That's like what he never stopped saying.
Discover what God has given you.
Yeah.
That's an established thesis. So just like we talked about with your capstone, I wrestle to make things legible. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that people understand that. When something is ready to launch into the public consciousness, it's been months of like trying to get it just so. Right. Maybe the way a poet does. Mm-hmm. Make it concise, make it say the right thing, choose the words. And I know I've got those things cooking.
Mm-hmm. Something's coming.
Yeah.
Everyone buckle up.
Buckle up. Yeah, I don't know that I can deliver.
Okay.
I've got a little notebook, but it's not on me. Sorry.
No worries. It's okay. The listeners.
But just that kindness that she wanted to know how you're doing. This is the kind of relationship.
I missed that
part.
part.
That podcast.
Yeah, I didn't really talk about that. I didn't answer that.
Come on.
I feel great. Oh. And that's not always true.
Right.
It's not always true. And I'm okay with that kind of vulnerability with students and with these readers. Hello, 7th graders. And hello, Anna, backpacking across Europe months from now.
Mm-hmm. Listening to this like on repeat. Yep.
Yeah.
Over the Alps.
Cringing at her own voice.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, but part of why I can say I'm feeling great is because I've examined the stories that I tell myself, and I've started to accept that maybe teaching is okay.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Mm-hmm. My head has gotten it before. For a long time, but my heart starts to get it, and I've been able to wrestle my circumstance into something that's more appropriate for me. Mm-hmm. You were starting to get at that when you were talking about what the responsibilities are of a teacher, like standard responsibilities of a teacher. Mm-hmm. So I've been able to manipulate my circumstance into something that acknowledges me as an artist, that I can teach as an artist. Mm-hmm. So that feels okay.
Yeah.
They say you don't feel good until your schedule aligns with your values. Mm-hmm. That's got to sink for a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Just let that.
The way that you spend your life. Oh, there's a Mumford & Sons song in there.
How you spend your days is how you spend your life. That's what my friend, I don't know if that's the Mumford & Sons
It's
thing,
very close.
but
The way you invest your love is the way you invest your life. Something like that. Go, you were talking.
no.
Okay. No.
No.
All right. We're gonna fly in just under an hour here.
Perfect.
I love you both. I love you, 7th graders.
Love you, 7th grade.
Hello, 7th grade. What's the school? What's the name of the school?
Agamemnon Classical Academy in Edina.
All right.
Love you, readers. Peace out. Word
Peace
to
out.
your mother.
Say hi to your mom.
I'll
from
say
me.
Et
hi.
cetera.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Hi.
And that concludes this episode of Whistle the Feast. We hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation as much as we did. Whistle the Feast would not be possible without all the creative people and spaces at Bethany Lutheran College. And you can head on over to blc.edu to learn more about the college or schedule a visit. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can actually send any feedback about the show to feastreaders@gmail.com. And hey, if you've got a project you'd like to promote, we'd love to support it. Just send your details our way. A huge shout out to the wonderful people in our Bethany community for sharing their thoughts with us, and our producer Jaksyn Graham for managing the edits. And with that, I'm Norah Kratz alongside Jason Jaspersen, and we want to thank everyone who tuned into this episode of Whistle the Feast. Until next time.
Get curious, be of good service, and discover what God has given you.